So we're going to start, and I just wanted to say welcome to Rabbi Stephen Bear. He's our new senior rabbi who started August 1st, and he already made a huge impression on me. I love working with you. Rabbi, do you want to say hi to everybody? Rabbi Bear.
Hi to everybody.
Okay, Rabbi is going to have more chance to talk to you when you're going to try and find the toughest questions for him. Okay, and so we're going to have a somewhat of a shorter class, but we're going to keep some time for questions. Some people already send me some questions. Whatever I do know, I'm going to answer. The rest I'm going to let Rabbi deal with. The subject of the class today is, what is the most important commandment? I was going to tell you in a couple of words what it is, but I want to have fun. So if you could take a minute to think, out of the 613 mitzvot, right? What will be if I take all of the mitzvot and put them on a scale? I will take 612 and put it on one side of the scale, and I took the other one, right, on the other side of the scale. Is there such a commandment that would be heavier than all the rest of them? So instead, could you write to everyone on the chat, what do you think it is? I mean, and by the way, this is not a test, there are no wrong answers, because if somebody asked me, I probably would have had a different answer. So what do you think? What is the most important commandment out of all 613 to you? Okay, there's only one God and no others shall come before God. Thank you, John. Anybody else? What is the most important commandment? It's the thing is that it's hard to have everybody unmuted. So if you type it, if you know how, when you touch your cursor, as soon as you touch your cursor, you have a lower bar and it shows chat. If you click on that and you type it, it comes out. Okay, let me ask you, out of all of the Jewish commandment and mitzvot, what is the one commandment that made you who you are and kept your family what it is today? Something that, we have another one. I agree with John said, keeping the Shabbat. Well, now you're climbing up there because you just gave me one of the top 10, right? This particular mitzvah actually is mentioned in the 10 commandments. And I hear here, we should view another person as real as one views oneself. Okay, you pretty much taught the class. Love your neighbor is very important. Okay, so the story goes that, we spoke a little bit about Rabbi Shammai and Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Shammai, okay. So Rabbi Shammai is known as, now we need everyone to mute yourself, only talk to me via chat, mute yourself, and then I can hear everybody. Kevin, can you mute yourself? Kevin? Perfect, okay. Rabbi Shammai and Rabbi Hillel. Rabbi Shammai has always, throughout the history, is always known as the rabbi who is more strict. Rabbi Hillel was always a rabbi who was more lenient, somewhat more compassionate. And they tell the story, a very famous story, that a convert came to Rabbi Shammai and said, Rabbi, knocking on the door, I want to convert. Could you please tell me the whole Torah while I stand on one foot, like very quickly? Rabbi Shammai was upset. This is disrespectful to teach you everything while you're here standing on one foot. No. He went to Rabbi Hillel, and Rabbi Hillel said to him, to tell you everything while you're standing in one foot is love your neighbor as yourself. Be as good to others as you are to yourself. And this is what John said. In our tradition, we are taught that the one commandment that is as important as all of the rest or more is studying the Torah. Why? Because no matter what commandment you're going to think of, if you study the Torah, it's going to lead you to do all the rest. So even if you say Shabbat, it is very correct. Shabbat is one of the most important things in Judaism. But how does one know how to keep Shabbat? What to do on Shabbat? What not to do on Shabbat? What are the things that are not allowed to do on Shabbat? Without studying Torah, you really can't perform this commandment. So studying Torah brings us all to all of the rest of the mitzvot. We need to study them. We need to understand them. And what I found when I asked many students, what do you think is one thing that really brings Jews, or rather describes Jewish people as private, or as a community, or as a nation? And they will tell you, actually, I'm not going to tell you what they tell me. What would you think, especially people who converted to Judaism or on the way to convert to Judaism, what would you say that the one thing or two things that you always noticed about the Jewish people? What is it? What is it that characterize them?
We speak up, and we also are known as the people of the book.
Correct. The people of the book. Am HaSefer. People of the book. And it's interesting how it's all connected, because they say the most important commandment, right, is studying Torah. And you saying to me, thousands of years later, that what you always noticed, and you converted to Judaism, what you noticed is that we are the people of the book, the people of the Torah. What is the book? The book is the Torah. People that put education on a very high priority, very high priority. I know for real that there are families that they would never go to a restaurant or vacation or buy cars or whatever, but they will put money into the education fund of their children, because education is of the top priority. But it all comes from this. It comes from the fact that all our rabbis said the most important commandment is study the Torah. Now, what is the Torah? Is it only the 5 books of Torah? No. Is it the Torah and the oral law? No. It is anything and everything that you are making yourself smarter. It could be learning Torah. It could be learning the Talmud. It could be learning the Mishnah and learning Jewish history. And it's learning anything and everything that explains you about being Jewish in many different levels. So what we're doing today, right now, we are performing a commandment. And every commandment, when you perform a mitzvah, when you perform a commandment, the accountant up there in heaven, in order to get the points, we have to say a blessing before we perform the mitzvah. But what is the blessing? I'm going to say it fast one time, but then I'm going to say it so you can repeat it to yourself. It is Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam Asher Tzivanu Asher Kideshanu B'mitzvotav V'tzivanu La'asok B'divrei Torah, which means we praise you, our Lord, for sanctifying us to perform the mitzvah of being immersed with words of Torah. What are we doing right now? We are dedicating 45 minutes out of our week and say, we're stopping everything. We're going to study a little bit, a teaspoon of Torah. And did you know that when we die and we go to the next world, to Olam Haba, which means the next world, to Gan Eden, which means to Garden of Eden, on the judgment day, we're going to be asked 6 questions when we get there. In a different class, I will be going over all 6 questions, but I will tell you one of the 6. One of the 6, you're going to be asked, did you make time out of your busy schedule to study Torah? And the answer is, my friends, yes. You're doing it every Tuesday, 6:15. You come to class and you can say to this, check this box. I made time to study Torah. Tony, you are muted, but I can hear you laughing hysterically. So that's good. So if you make time to study Torah, you are already performing a mitzvah that is very important. Because by studying, every time you learn something new. It could be a teaspoon or a tablespoon. Sometime I might be teaching you about a lot of things that you already know. It's okay. It's okay to refresh your memory. So right now we're talking about what is the most important mitzvah out of all is to study, and to never feel like you ever came to a point, well, okay, I know enough. I can now put my Torah aside. I've read it. I went through it. How many times can you read and overread from beginning to end of the Torah? We do it every Shabbat when you go to synagogue. We read one portion, right? We finish all of the portions. And the last night of Simchat Torah, we read the very last parsha, the very last sentence, the very last word. And what do? When we finish the last word, we immediately roll the Torah all the way to the very beginning and we're starting all over again. And the fact that we're taking all the Torahs out of the ark and we're holding it, embracing it with love and respect, and we are dancing around the whole synagogue in a hakafa, which means going around. It is to symbolize the unending circle of learning Torah and respecting the Torah. Because it will never end. For thousands of years, we've been reading it every Shabbat. Long time ago, you need to know, when a lot of people did not know how to read and write, they would trust the rabbis to read for them. And they would come to the shuk. They would come to the center of the market. Usually it was Monday and Thursday. These are the days when we read the Torah. And also on Shabbat, it would be in the synagogue, but this is where the rabbis would read and everybody would listen, because not all of them knew how to actually read. So whoever said studying the Torah, and it was the correct answer. But someone here also said, here's John saying close community. Is there a difference between the umbrella term for Torah, which includes the Talmud and other books in Hebrew Bible, and the Torah, meaning the 5 books of Moses? How do we know which one is being used? Okay, so Torah, the simplest definition of the word Torah is really the 5 books of Moses. But when we're talking about sitting and studying Torah, it doesn't have to be only the 5 books. I mean, the 5 books of Moses are the beginning, but then we have the prophet, we have Nevi'im, Ketuvim, I mean, the writings, and then we have all of the oral law, and we have all of the oral law really came to explain to us better what is the meaning of the Torah, because the Torah is written in a way that sometimes leaves a lot of questions. For example, I have lots of questions, okay? Because some people, when they are 2 years old, they keep on asking why, and you tell them why, but they keep on saying why, but why? It's like the 2-year-old. I never really grew up from this because I always like to ask why we do it. And when I hear it, and I said, yeah, I understand, but why? Why did they do it to begin with? So asking questions forever, for the rest of your life, doesn't mean that you are not smart. It means that you want to keep on going from one level to another. As I grew up and became a liberal Jew, that means a Jewish person who believes that women can do the same things as men, I had even more questions. And a lot of my questions are not really answered yet, but for example, if I talked about it, please tell me and I will stop and talk about something else. I was always curious about why Miriam, Moses' sister, got so badly punished when she questioned her brother Moses' authority, when she says, what, is God speaking only to him? Look at him. Is God not speaking to me and you, Aaron? Aaron was partner in this little gossip, but Miriam, she was punished with leprosy and she was excommunicated to be all alone in the tent, right, being sick. And thank goodness, I say, that the women of Israel said in the desert, we're not continuing to move forward in our wandering through the desert toward the promised land until she's coming out, right? And they waited for her. And when she healed, she came out and they all danced and were happy. But I'm saying it's such a huge story, and what's written about it in the Torah is like just a few lines, really, not a lot of details. And this is what happens to a lot of people who ask questions. They go to the Midrash. Midrash, remember this word, Midrash, M-I-D-R-A-S-H. Midrash is a story that is really not coming from the Torah. It's not really written in the Torah in any authoritative way, but it is a story from rabbis and commentaries that comes to say, maybe that's what's really happened, or maybe that's what happened. In other words, the Midrash comes to fill in with explanations in between the lines where you are reading and you said, wait a minute, why? Why did Aaron did not get punished? And why did she punish so badly? Is it because she was a woman? Is it because she spoke against the leader? Is it because it was a very tough time in the desert, as Moses was having a hard time enough without having his sister criticizing him for marrying a dark woman? Or I mean, maybe that is why. But the midrash comes to help us understand. So the beauty of Judaism is, that's why I'm Jewish, or that's why I stay Jewish my whole life, is because it's okay to ask. It's okay to doubt. It's okay even to be angry sometime with God when you feel that you dealt with cards that you deserve better cards. I mean, we have Job who feels, I've been so good. Why is it happening to me? And he wants to take God to court in front of a judge. But he's saying, who am I going to take you? You are the judge of all. How can I take you to the judge when you are the judge? But there is different types of why there is one why we can ask. There is another type of why we shouldn't ask as Jews. And the why is like that you okay to ask is like, why did this happen? What could have been some details of the story that don't exist in the Torah that maybe the Midrash can help me understand? That's an okay why. What a different kind of why is like, why is my child sick? Or why did a loved one had to die? Or these kind of whys we don't ask because we are being taught as Jews to ask, how do we move forward? What do we do action-wise to move forward, to make things better? When we hear of tragedy, to point finger and say, why me? That's not the Jewish way. The Jewish way is when something like this happens, is to say, when someone dies, a friend or somebody that you know, somebody, God forbid, from your family, we say immediately, Baruch Dayan Ha'emet. Praise is the judge of truth. In other words, we praise God because certain things are above and beyond our human understanding. We don't know why, so we have to trust that God has the bigger picture. Exactly. Here I see you, Glammy, saying, why me is not okay. Oh my God, are you related to me? I think so. Glammy is going to move to San Antonio and become a member of our synagogue, and we're going to welcome her. So far, questions? Any questions, any comments? Oh, somebody asked, how do I know which book and which parsha is being read? I mean, that's very easy. You Google, what's the parsha this week? And it will tell you, okay, what book it is, and it will tell you. So, you know, all right, comments from anybody? So again, I would like to reinforce the fact that education and schooling is always a very important value in any Jewish family, regardless if they can afford it or can't afford it. Education is a must. And it comes from this very foundation that study Torah is the first. And I want to tell you something about agudas. I've been here only a year and a half, so you have to understand I'm still the new kid on the block. I'm still learning. But one of the most wonderful things that happened to me as soon as I came here, I met a woman of our congregation, and she asked me, could you give me the list of the single mothers in the school? I said, are you a matchmaker? She said, no. She said, it is tough these days to raise a child, even as a couple. But the single parents, doesn't matter if a single mom or single dad, I would like to give you a check to help them pay for tuition. I started crying and I gave her a big hug. And I said, what you're doing is remarkable. Now, this woman doesn't have children, but she really does. She does. There is a Hasidic story about a couple that the mother could not get pregnant, no matter how much they tried. She was very upset. They couldn't have kids. They became very wealthy people. God has given them everything that they could ask for except children. His name was Moshe and her name was Sarah. And what they did is that they paid money for children to go to yeshiva and to study, not only in their towns, but in other towns, in other villages. They paid the money for children to go to school. Well, after years of doing it, they went traveling. And on their travel, I guess their wagon stopped and they needed to stop somewhere. So they got off the wagon and children were there in this village. And they asked, where can we find somebody, a rabbi or a synagogue, because we got stuck here. And they said, oh, let me show you, the girl said. I said, what is your name? And she said, Sarah. And what is your name, boy? Moshe. And then they saw other children. There was another Sarah and another Moshe. And they looked at each other and they thought, that is kind of strange. So many Sarahs and so many Moshes. So when they finally get to the rabbi said to them, first of all, welcome to our village. I know who you are. And he said, how is it that there's so many Sarahs and so many Moshes? And he said, you have been sending us money to educate children for years. Many of the parents called their children after your names. You might not have children of your own, but all these children in our village, so many of them were educated because of your generosity. So what does that teach us? That sometime our mitzvahs, our commandment, they become our ambassadors. They are named after us. So even though these children were not theirs, they really did the most important thing for them that real parents do, and that is to send them to school and educate them. And I told this story to the lady who gave me a check and said, here is a check. I would like to cover the tuition for all these single parents, which happened last year. So you are right. Education and studying Torah is very, very important. We have a Torah study every Saturday after services. And I know that Rabbi Stephen Bear is starting now tomorrow morning, right after Minyan. He's going to start a class, or a series of a class that talks about Rabbi Jonathan Sacks, which you all should know and should learn from. And if you don't know, it's about time for you to be familiar with him. He is Lord Rabbi Jonathan Sacks. He was the chief rabbi of England. He passed away and he left a legacy, and I cannot wait to be at this class tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Those of you who go to Minyan, you will be able to join the class right after Minyan. Those of you who are not going to Minyan tomorrow, you can go to the Zoom link. If you did not receive it today, you'll receive it. No, you better receive it. Did you receive it? You should have received it. Yeah. You should have, yep, this is it. You have it, and you have the link for tomorrow. You can 9 a.m. See, I'm like showing you all. Can you see what I'm showing you? Please come. I don't know if you can see it or not, maybe not. Okay, but you have it in your email. So, so this is also study of Torah. Torah is very large subject. It doesn't have to be just the 5 books of Moses. Right. Any comment? So I just want to look at somebody asked me, Rikki, are you going to introduce the rabbi to speak? Yes, Susan, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that in just a couple of minutes, but I just want to let you know that some of the subjects that were asked of me to teach, one of them is why Jews do not accept Jesus as their savior. So this is going to be one of the classes, and I know Diana is going to actually help me with this because she is a convert, was asked many times by her Christian past teachers and friends, said it's impossible for Jews not to accept Jesus, and we're going to go over it, and it's actually going to be a very juicy class. The one easy question that someone asked me is that something about a talit. Why Orthodox Jews wear? Oh, by the way, any question about what we talked about study of Torah? And can I move on to something else? Nod with your head. Thank you. I was asked why Orthodox Jews mostly wear black stripes on their talit, where other liberal Jews, you have blue or you have other colors. I will only tell you what I know, and if Rabbi Bear wants to give other explanation, black and white are considered among Orthodox Jews, very observant Jews, that are the colors of modesty, being humble, not trying to stand out. This is not the time to have your fashion statement and to be different and creative. So therefore, black and white. That's why you're going to find out that in my hometown, black and white are pretty much the 2 colors of the whole town. All of the men and even the women, they are very muted colors. Liberal Judaism, which includes conservative, reform, reconstructionist, and people who are more modern, and they, you know, still the blue is maybe influenced by the Israeli flag. Blue is very common, but these days you can find really any colors. And now that I know people who want to support the gay community, they have beautiful rainbow colors. Now these days, everything is acceptable, especially in liberal Judaism. If you want to go to my hometown, to Bnei Brak or to Lakewood, and you're going to wear different colors, I'm telling you, you're going to be the only one. So you're going to be like a sore thumb. Oh, okay. Stephanie is saying that she has family members of Chabad, right? It's Chabad. Yeah, Chabad don't only do black and white. They wear also bright colors, but please know that Chabad is not as strict as, you know, the Haredi. Chabad is more accepting, and in that way, they're more lenient. I mean, and they have different colors. So this is the question that I was asked to go over. Also, some people say to me, what is the difference between the talit that is being worn like a scarf right just on the shoulders, and other people have very large talit? So the scarf is practically is more comfortable. It, you know, it just stays there. The long one is like constantly is like slipping off. However, this is a funny answer. The true answer is that it says that we should be immersed in the talit, and therefore the Orthodox or more observant among conservative Jews, the more observant and more traditional, says if we are to wear it and to be immersed in it, it really needs to cover most of our body. And that's why they have the large one, okay? That is the reason. The most important thing is really that both of these talitot, you know, the narrow one or the big one, they have the four corners on the we call it the tzitziot, the tzitzit, you know, the four corners that we hold. And what is the purpose of the talit? Is a talit for modesty? So it is a prayer shawl, and that means that once we start our prayers, we are saying the blessing, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher shanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehitatef batzitzit. Praise you, God, our Lord, who sanctified us with the commandment to immerse ourselves, to wrap ourselves in the tzitzit. So you say that, you kiss the Torah, the talit, and you put it on you. When you walk into the synagogue, you want to feel that the talit is actually something that envelops you, and that you have almost your own privacy. That's, you are one among a community of daveners, community of people who pray, but this is where you wrap yourself almost to make you a shelter, you know, around you for your prayers and for your privacy. It's sort of like saying, okay, now I'm about to go and pray. It just puts you in the mood. It puts you in this spiritual space. Okay. Rabbi, are you there? I know Rabbi had a little bit of troubles before with the internet or the Wi-Fi. Can you hear us?
Yes, still having some troubles, but I can hear most of you. I hope you hear me.
Yes, we can hear you beautifully. Anybody would like to ask a question from Rabbi? Rabbi, do you have maybe a better explanation about why we wrap ourselves in a talit?
One thing to recognize is that there's no one answer in our tradition. We have a tradition that's over 4,000 years old. And because we have so many different interpretations of that tradition, as Rabbi Arad mentioned, we have Orthodox, we have Hasidic, which in San Antonio we know of as Chabad, but there are many, many different forms of Hasidim. Chabad is only one. We have Reform, Reconstructionist, Conservative. For every single answer, for every single question, there are sometimes 6 or 7 different answers. And as Rabbi Arad mentioned before, there's a very important concept in our tradition called Midrash. Midrash, as Rabbi Arad said, is rabbinic musings on why and why we do things, which is not necessarily authoritative. And there's another concept called minhag, which it means custom. So the concept of custom is that there are many different customs which, if they go on long enough, people tend to think are authoritative and are law, and they're not. So when Rabbi Arad asks, do I agree with her? It's not a question of agreeing. It's there are many different interpretations of it. Hers is a very valid interpretation. But one of the things you're going to see is that when you talk to different members of the clergy in Judaism, you're going to get different answers. That's the best answer I can give you right now.
Yeah, thank you, Rabbi. We're going to end in about 4 minutes, so I just want to have any other question. This is a wonderful opportunity. There are no bad questions. Would it be possible to get a video of the class that Rabbi is teaching tomorrow? We are going to record it, and we're going to be able to share it with you. Right, Leah?
Yes, we'll have it recorded and put up on the YouTube.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Let's see. What was? Yeah, I'm not going to get into it. So I just want to give you a heads up. We're going to be talking about why Jews do not accept Jesus. We are also going to talk about marriage and divorce coming up. That might be interesting. And let's see. This is what people have asked me to put in the curriculum, and Maimonides, yeah, Tony. By the way, Rabbi Bear and I are going to sometime switch on this class. Rabbi is going to be extremely busy because he's just starting, and you know, this is his second day. Third day, Rabbi, third day. So yeah, Monday, Tuesday. No, it's your second day. Wow. I want to invite you all on Monday, August 8th. We are going to have a dedication. It's 7 o'clock. I'm inviting each and every one of you as the most important guest to come. We'll have wine and cheese, and we're going to dedicate and cut the ribbon to a very special bracha bench. Actually, I should say bracha bench. That means the bench of blessing. This bench was created and designed and built by a very famous artist. His name is Oscar Alvarado, and it is in loving memory of Rabbi Louis Schechter. One of our students here tonight is Rivka Schechter, and he was her husband. He will always be, you know, her husband, but he passed away. But he was also one of our leaders and one of our senior rabbis in the past before he passed away. And it's going to be very interesting because the bench is like a curriculum. And one of these days, the whole class is going to come, and we're going to actually picnic there when it becomes a little bit cooler and go through all the images on the bench, and each and every image, it's like a whole lesson plan. So I'm really excited about that. Please come. You're all invited. 7 o'clock You can come, you can bring your children, you can just come and show presence. I wanted to remind you of that. Anything else I need to make sure that I include? Do you want to remind me? You can unmute yourself and remind me. Rabbi, did I forget anything? And Anthony is saying this was a great class. Thanks to Rabbi Rikki for teaching the class and Rabbi Bear for giving his input. Good night to all. Thank you, Anthony. Okay. Thank you for the wonderful class. It was great to meet Rabbi Bear. I look forward. We are so lucky. This is a real awesome rabbi. I'm telling you right now, and I know just within 2 days that we got very lucky. Okay. Rabbi, if you have nothing else to add, I think we can say good night to everybody and thank you for coming. Leah, did you take all the names of all the students? Leah?
Yes, I have them.
You're amazing. I don't know who trained this woman, but she's the best. Okay, this is fantastic. Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.